Whether you are new to adopting AI for your company or you're wondering where you can apply it next, you won't want to miss this episode with an industrial manufacturer that walks through his AI adoption journey and shares really detailed applications of where he's seen the most success utilizing AI to work smarter, not harder, and really make an impact to the bottom line. Let's do this.
Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here is your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, challenge, or best practice in reaching technical audiences. You'll meet colleagues, friends, and clients of mine who will stop by to share their stories. And I hope that you leave each episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a brief shout out to my agency, True Marketing. True is a full service agency located in beautiful Austin, Texas, serving highly technical companies. For more information, visit truemarketing.com. And now on with our podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Content Marketing Engineered. I'm joined today by Eric Seiberling. He is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at MXD Process. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Wendy. It's great to be here.
Where are you coming to me from?
So we are right outside of Louisville, Kentucky. So we're in a little town right across the river called Jeffersonville, Indiana. And so we also have two other locations. We're in Branchburg, New Jersey, and as well as Plain City, Ohio, which is right outside of Columbus.
Nice, nice. One of our true crewers, Casey, is from Louisville and has lots of family there, but just moved to Chicago because she wanted to be in the bright lights and all that.
Well, we just moved here 2 years ago from Boston. So
oh wow!
I'll just end up saying it's like bright lights are great, but Louisville is a very, very cool town, and I'd really encourage people to come and visit.
Yeah, fair, good. Well, Eric, I had so much fun just cruising through your LinkedIn profile and looking at just all the different twists and turns your career has made. So I would love to start there, just to give some people some context to where you're coming from. So tell me a little bit about your career journey and what led you to your role today.
Great. Yeah, I like to say I'm so well-rounded, I'm pointless. But really, I think I've been gifted with a broad set of experiences. So I graduated from the Air Force Academy and then did 5 years active duty. So I was an intelligence officer in the Air Force, and I like to tell people I was an arms dealer, I was a spy, and then I was a computer geek. So I ended up doing that was my last year and a half. But after that, I ended up working through a corporate recruiter, Cameron Brooks, and so I ended up at Procter & Gamble, of all places, in an assistant brand manager role. And it's one of these things of an intelligence, you have to figure out why people do what they do. It's the same context in marketing. It's just they're buying laundry detergent instead. So it was really helpful, and it was a good background for me. But, was there 5 years, was in fabric and home care new business, and then also did some time in their global business services organization, teaching them how to run like a business. So that I parlayed into consulting for 5 years into CPG and retail companies around strategy development with the C-levels in their organization, and then also organizational change management. So I was gifted enough to work with the senior leadership at PepsiCo, Procter & Gamble, Whirlpool, UPS a little bit, and then Kroger as well. And so was able really to say, how do you create initiatives that matter internally, whether that was an HR or finance or an IT type initiative. So then I worked for Dassault Systems for 12 years. And so it was a mixture of both sales and marketing roles. And so it was running the P&G account. It was standing up the whole CPG retail industry team and strategy work. And then also my last role there was the head of North America marketing. So I ran all of North America marketing with a team of about 36 at Dassault Systems. Did 2 years at Amazon Web Services because it was looking for something fun to do and kind of get on the cutting edge of cloud. And then my wife's job moved us here to Louisville, and I ended up taking a job here with MXD Process, and now I'm back in industrial equipment. So I'm just on the other end of CPG, and so it's been this really well-rounded career, but it all informs one another, and that's been the cool part. The skills you learn as a B2C marketer very much apply to B2B. In B2B, you understand much more about the buyer's journey and really getting into the details of that, which really help on the B2C side as well. So I'm well-rounded. I've had a lot of experiences, but it's been a lot of fun too.
So As Vice President of Sales and Marketing, is this your first time to have sales associated with your title, your job responsibilities then?
Now, when I first went to Dassault Systems, I did 2 years of managing the Procter and Gamble account, and
Okay,
so it was a sales type role.
I
When
see.
I led the CPG retail team at Dassault Systems, I had sales, I had marketing, I had the whole industry team, which was made up of all the components to deliver it. But this is what I'd say the most holistic role because
Mhm.
I've got marketing, I have sales, I also have support and new product development. So everything that touches our customer is what I control. And so it's been a wild time.
How wonderful to have control over the customer experience. We're going to have to unpack that in a little bit. That's really cool. But one of the things I wanted to bring you onto the podcast today to talk about is your company's journey in adopting AI and within the organization. How did it come about, and what aspects of AI did you embrace? What tools you're using? So, such a hot topic. Everybody's wanting to learn. So where did it start?
So for us, our owner, Mark Franco, is a very forward leaning owner. And even when I interviewed, he started saying, "What do you know about AI?" And I'm like, "Well, I know from Dassault Systems, I know modeling and simulation, I know model based systems engineering. So, what I'd say the more traditional kind of AI machine learning pieces. But I'm like, you know what? I've done enough tech roles. I'll learn it." And he believed me. That was true. No, but it's one of those things I love to learn, and I think that's one of the skills that everyone always needs is always be renewing and always look for what's out there and how can I use it. So our journey started with HubSpot, and so how do we leverage HubSpot just as a technology to its full ability? So that included building sequences and workflows, and really just thinking about how AI is not just LLM, it's the computer helping you kind of make decisions and get work done. And so that was our definition. So
Mhm.
after we really laid out our work process, we said, okay, how do we leverage HubSpot to its maximum ability to really help us? We also ended up looking at the other tools like CallRail that we had, and they came up with a new tool called Convert Assist.
Hmm.
So it transcribes the conversation, but then the other thing it does is it summarizes it into here's a summary of the conversation. Here are the 5 things the way the sales associate can improve, and here is the action steps, and then here's the outbound email to send as a follow-up. And so we just took
Wow.
advantage of those. And
Yeah.
so, my advice to everyone watching this is look inside your tool stack already. There's probably a lot of untapped things. So
Mhm.
from there, then we started to make the move into Chat GPT. And so
Wait, what's
we've
that? I've
got
never heard of it. No, sorry.
what?
Bad joke.
No, it's so funny because everyone just knows, oh, I go to chatgpt.com and I just start asking questions like a search engine. And that's the probably I'd say I won't say the worst way to use it, but it's really underutilized.
Yeah.
And so we tried to use ChatGPT. I think it was 3 at the time, and it was terrible. Mainly because in the industrial space, and we do chemical engineering equipment, liquid process equipment, it has no idea what the industry really is, especially at that time, which was GPT-3. So what we ended up doing is I was doing some searches on YouTube, and I found this video on how to do a custom GPT. And I think that was the game changer. So we started to develop custom GPTs. We started to upload our own data into the system. We also had a Teams account, so ChatGPT is not training on our data. And we started it with quoting first. And so we really had those, and our application engineers can use it in order to understand all the industries we serve, because we go from food and beverage all the way to aerospace coating. So if it's liquid, we make tanks, mixers, and control systems for it. And so we just started that. And first it was a resource to point them to other resources. As we made it better and better, and we kept iterating over time, it really became kind of a co-pilot for them, for lack of a better term, of when they're developing new process solutions and the equipment to go with it. And so we cut our quoting time from about 80% by doing that.
Wow. Wow. And was it pretty reliable out of the gates, or how much tuning did you need to do to get it that
You've
quick
got to
and
do
that
a lot of,
accurate?
yeah, I'm sorry. You've got to do a lot of tuning. And it
Mhm.
was this iterative approach. It's not, I built it once, yay, I'm done. It is, you have to kind of go through, and it's the way I talk about AI, it is the smartest, dumbest intern you ever will have. You would never let an intern run your business. And so you shouldn't let it run yours. And so whether it was from quoting, and then as we've expanded into sales and marketing, it is you let it do its work, and then you figure out, is this right? Is it wrong? You have to check it, just like you would any intern's work. And then it's like, okay, great. How do you correct the model in order to get better next time? And so we've done this kind of iterative approach. Like I just relaunched our sales kind of customer understanding GPT. I just launched V2, and it is, I'm going to say it's lights out. It is pretty incredible of what we can do. And it's not a software tool that we went and bought. We developed it for us. It's really about our vertical, and it really gives us great insight. And I think that's the other thing. Everybody is, for lack of a better term, I'll say pimping software tools. And the issue is they're all basic tools built on just LLM technology. And so they don't understand our context. And I think that is the key learning for AI is you need to train it yourself because our industry is so unique. And so that's what you need to do in order to get something that really works for you in AI.
Did you have issues with, well, you probably did early on with hallucinations and that sort of thing. And so then when you went to custom GPTs, did that remove that issue because it's only looking at your data, or did you still look at data that it's been trained on, but as the models have progressed, the hallucinations gotten better?
You have to take actions in your instructions to start limiting the amount of guesswork it does. Mm-hmm. So an LLM, the way it works is it tries to predict the next word after the last word that's in the string of text. And so it wants to make you happy. And so you have to put custom instructions around. If you end up making something from an implicit reasoning, you need to label it. That's what we did. So it goes through it in our model. It says if it's explicit, it's fine. But if it's implicit, it has to tell us. And the other thing I do at the bottom is it's like go through and validate put all of your sources down at the bottom. And then what you can do is you can paste all those sources and you ask ChatGPT to open all of them. And then you can find out which ones are fake. So it's just like when you have an intern, you have to check their work. And so that's the same thing here.
I see. So your customer GPT that you said you just launched V2 of.
So part of what ends up coming in is if we know the company, we have a company summary that will go and take a look in our industry of what products are they making based on those products, what are the pieces of equipment they need in order to manufacture those products. We take a look at, based on that list of products, even what companies could they be using. And then also it's based on using a process engineer persona that we've built, it'll say, these are the things they care about. And so it'll then say, these are the main selling points, reference to MXD's value proposition. And then it'll even build an introduction call script and email script based on it. And then if you have more information, like if we know that the company and the product or even the location, it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. But it provides that framework. Our next step, which I'm in the process of doing, is I'm attaching it to our forms. And so what will happen is it'll come in from the form, it'll run through the GPT, and then it'll post a note for that lead inside HubSpot.
Nice. So I hear a lot of efficiency and just an improved, more customized value proposition to the prospect when sales is engaging. How has that been received? I could see some maybe more experienced salespeople going, I don't need this. I have 30 years of experience. And I could see younger sales engineers being so glad because they're still trying to figure it out. So am I right? Or how's it been?
Yeah, I mean, the level of adoption is different, right? And so you're right. We've seen people that are a little bit more comfortable with technology, I think, being able to adopt it. But I will say this, we just hired another salesperson. He has 25 years of experience. But it was in an adjacent industry. Mm-hmm. He's been living on our customer GPT every day, and he's an outstanding hunter. And the payoff we've seen come from that has been huge.
Cool.
I think with the biggest thing you have to think about, and this comes from an organizational change management standpoint, is how do you hardwire it into the process that people don't have to think about it? So if they've got a prompt on their own, if they've got to go to GPT and say, all right, let me write this whole script, they're not going to do it. What we did in the interim is they just go /summary, name of company, and maybe the product they're making, and it kicks out everything. So it's much simpler. The next step is to hardwire it into HubSpot so it's just there, and it makes their life easier. So that's how you drive adoption. Just make people's life easier, and know that you're getting the business results on the back end.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, how about for marketing? Tell me about some of the use cases that you benefited the most from.
So, marketing, the first thing we ended up really using it for is persona development. And so we've got tens of thousands of contacts in our database. And so how do I go through and understand who's bought what and why did they buy it? And in HubSpot, if you've collected all the interactions, now in agent mode with GPT, it can actually read those interactions and start to give you very rich personas. So, that's kind of, step two from that is, okay, great. How do I build a personalized marketing plan by persona? And what content are they interested in? And then third, you can take it into the content development role. You just have to make sure that you've got a custom GPT that really speaks the language of the people you're trying to speak to, because otherwise it ends up very generic and ends up very fluffy, and also, frankly, full of a lot of hallucinations. Yeah. So it's kind of that 3-step process of doing, we've ended up getting clear on here's our benefit, we have our branding standards, we have our tone, we have tone documents up. And then, so it's starting to write content now is what we're working with, by taking a look at even the interactions that we had or what we've sold. What are the top 10 topics that people care about?
Yeah. And I like how carefully you've constructed this, like you said, because it doesn't know our industry. It doesn't know the terms and all of that. And on top of it, if your company is innovating and inventing new things, and it's a blue ocean strategy and a red ocean strategy, right? You need to be able to train it and put your own intelligence in there before you can produce something that's truly yours. So it sounds like you guys taking a very thoughtful approach to that.
Yeah, no, it's been an experience. And the thing is, our IT staff is busy just keeping up the software, the hardware, and the network here. So it's been a lot of experimentation on my own to be able to then build it. And then what I end up doing is I've got a couple of folks on my team. I just show them and we're like, hey, play with this or use this. What works? What doesn't? And it's just this iterative development process to kind of get us to something that works before we release it to the wild.
Okay, so I have to pick on you. So your title is Vice President of Sales and Marketing, but yet you have this big technical background. You're obviously, we can unleash you on any technical thing and you want to go figure it out. What roles have you surrounded yourself with so that it's not you doing all the GPT programming?
So right now, we're a small company and we're busy trying to grow. And so it's
rolling up your sleeves.
I'm rolling up my sleeves and getting it done.
Fair enough.
And this is the thing, I built prompts, but then GPT is your helper. So I've taken the prompts and the custom instructions, I put it back into GPT and say, how do I make this better? And it actually does a great job of it.
I see. So it's your companion.
It is, and I'll give you a good example. This is not weeks of development. I read a paper on B2C around concept development tests. Have you ever done a concept test on shampoo or whatever else? It's a picture concept, all those things. Well, there was an academic paper out there that was, hey, we did this. We're able to get a 90% correlation between what the LLM says and the concept, which is huge. I remember it was 4 weeks. It was thousands of dollars. It was lots of work. And I'm like, okay, can we do this for B2B? So on this Friday, I saw the paper at 1 o'clock, and by probably about 2.5 hours of work, I have a V1. And so it's not perfect. It has a lot of work to do, but it's pretty wow. And it's not because I am this amazing technologist and just I have no clue how to program Python. I have no clue how to do a lot of that. I just know generally how to structure prompts. Mm-hmm. And it's been just iterating back and forth with GPT as your co-pilot. And it's pretty cool, but it's not there yet. It's not skeptical enough on the concepts. And so that's what I'm working on next.
But the point that I'm taking away from all that is you don't have to have this big technical background. Just get in there and do it and start and iterate and ask it. And like you said, ask it how to make it better, and don't be fearful of using the tool, because no one's an expert, right? We're all just figuring it out and learning from each other. So I applaud you for just getting your hands dirty with it.
Wendy, anybody who says they're an expert, I'm going to say this is a liar. Even, Allie K. Miller, who, I ended up taking some of her AI first training and those kinds of things. It was, it was one of those things. It was amazing how much I already knew. And it's just seeing some of the YouTube videos, and OpenAI has some good training. But the biggest thing is roll up your sleeves, play with it, and just remember, especially once you have a business account and none of it's getting trained out, go play and take a little bit of time to do that. And it's wild. And the capability of AI is doubling every 7 months. So I remember what happened even a year ago and what was capable. I look at what's now and just some of the new OpenAI announcements, and it is going to change all of our worlds. That's the bottom line. And so we have to be prepared for it.
We do. We do. And so I'm laughing because you are one of our speakers for the Industrial Marketing Summit, which will happen March 3rd through 5th, 2026 in Austin. And you can't even create your presentation really yet, because by next March, who knows what you're going to be doing?
And that's exactly true. I presented at AI4 this year out in Las Vegas, and it was, everyone's like, especially the small and mid-sized companies. So you talk about under $100 million. They're like, all we do is get tool pitches. We have no idea what to do, and none of it works for us. What do we do? And so people were highly, highly interested in that. And I do know you're absolutely right. I thought I knew what the presentation was going to look like, and just literally what I did on Friday. I'm like, no, I'm gonna.
You might as well just wait.
I'll probably build it in January or February, but a lot of it just is. I think more importantly than the technology itself is how do we think about it, and how do we work through it, and how do we iterate? Because it's not AI that's the game changer. It is the smarts that each marketer has. It's the smarts that each salesperson has in terms of, do I understand what I'm trying to do? Do I understand the buyer's journey, and how do I bring that to life? And it doesn't matter what tool it is, whether it was the internet back in the early 2000s or if it's AI today.
Good. Okay, good advice. Good. Well, I want to switch gears just a little bit and go back to the beginning of our conversation when you said that you oversee the whole customer experience. And so, how do you foster collaboration, teamwork between sales, marketing, customer service? What does that look like aside from, we're all in HubSpot and using the same systems?
Right. I mean, first of all, I think it's an expectation. So the expectations are very, very clear for me around, we are one team. It's not sales as a team, marketing as a team, support as a team. We're one single team. And it's been interesting because in the beginning, it was just everybody in one location. And so I did a lot of things to foster that, like people's birthdays. We all eat lunch together or things like that. As we expanded to other locations, as we've acquired companies, it's still being very clear on the expectation of marketing is going to be bringing leads. If they don't work, we need feedback on why. If they do work, great, let us know that. But if you don't touch them, you're wrong. And it's that expectation. I think second is what we've done is we've made it really easy. We've tried to reduce the friction across functions. And so when a marketing lead comes in, literally a lead will take less than a minute in order to get to a salesperson's hands from the second they fill out the form for about 97% of our leads. And so, I think that's the other piece is, and then we use AI in order to reduce the friction for first follow-up and all that. We've been smart also about workflows around, is it an MQL versus an SQL? And we have very clear criteria. And so in MQL, we have automated nurturing sequences in order to further qualify them and lead score up.
Great.
Right?
Yes.
For SQLs, it's like the expectation is you will call them in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And so I think the expectations piece. And I think the last thing has been two things. Third thing is measurement of really bringing it very clear of I scoreboard everything, and I have it right up. Time to first touch is showing up in my weekly dashboards now that I show at my team meeting, and it's like you can see who's been following up fast and who has not. It's just visibility. It's not trying to shame anybody, but it's like okay. This is the expectation. And the last thing is, I'm going to be honest, we celebrate together. And so I find excuses to celebrate and always keep bringing everybody together as a team and that we all celebrate together. And so it's just been intentional. But yeah, I do think expectations are absolutely critical.
Yeah. Since you're multiple locations now, do you use Slack or email, or how do you do that celebration when you're distributed?
So we'll have people on teams and we'll do big team meetings and do shout outs and do all that kind of stuff. The other thing is I do hold quarterlies. And
Okay.
so I get everybody together for a quarterly, usually 2 days. And it's like, you are going to unplug and we're going to do both. We're going to grow together as a team. For example, the next one we're doing, we're working on closing. There's a book that we're working through that this is how we close, and we do that together and we talk about it together. The other thing is we make sure that we eat together. That is really important to me, that we share meals, lunch, and when they're here overnight, dinner, and do those things, because that's where the relationships are truly made. And once
Yeah,
in a while we'll do fun
fellowship.
things like, I think the next one I thought about doing an escape room, but I'm
Uh-huh.
not quite sure. But it blend everybody up. So it's
Yeah.
not your team, it's just blend everybody up and then do it. So, but
We
you
did
have
we
to.
did one for True Marketing, and I will admit I was kind of poo-pooing it a little bit, and it was quite fun.
But the thing is about escape rooms, because I did this when I was at Dassault, we got the whole team together. They're from across the country. And we ended up having to do escape rooms because it forces you to problem solve together
Yeah,
in an
yeah.
official context. And so I think it is one of the most underutilized leadership development tools that you have.
And it's so easy because somebody else did the work. Like we used to do scavenger hunts at National Instruments, and I had to construct the whole thing. And it was yeah, no
Yeah, yeah,
escape room. You just pay, you go.
I'm naturally lazy. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things they built it and you just look for ones that are really cool because there are
Yeah,
some lame ones out there.
fair.
But yeah, do that.
Very good. Very good. Well, before we hopped into this recording, you mentioned in passing that you also consult with some nonprofits. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So yeah, we've got my wife and I have a nonprofit consulting company. It's called brokensheep.com. So, but what we do is we help small and mid-sized churches grow. And it really is taking the best of the corporate techniques and things like marketing and not sales per se, but just kind of the buyer's journey, those kinds of things. And it combines it with the theologic grounding of my wife, who she's a United Methodist pastor for the past 21 years. And so it is together, we end up bringing that together, and we've consulted with churches across the country in order to be able to help small and mid-sized churches grow.
That's fantastic. Really neat. Cool, cool. Well, I guess to wrap things up here, what parting advice do you have to the marketer listening that is just starting out with AI, maybe trying to convince? I know this is a very common issue, is trying to convince leadership to take the risk, right? To adopt these tools. So what would you arm them with for leadership? And also, where would you point them to get started?
I think you do need leadership alignment to experiment. So when you end up starting, it's how do you lower the stakes? Because everyone assumes when they say you're going to go with AI, they think what you're going to do is unleash it inside the entire enterprise and ERP, and then all your data is going to be out there for the world. And so, look, we're doing a sandbox environment. We're just gonna try to pull something together, and then we're going to let you see it, and then we can ask ourselves, is it valuable? I think you also end up having to do your homework. So, for example, knowing what the data sharing agreements are for the tools that you use. Like the chat GPT is very clear. If you say we are not going to share, same with Claude and others, you have to be very clear on that. I think second then is just kind of go out and get some basic training. I used AI first with Ali Miller. That was kind of one of my training grounds, as well as OpenAI has amazing videos that kind of walk you through stuff. And so just learn a little bit. And then third is dive in and just try it. And then when you get something that really works, share it with your team. And I think it's an attraction model versus a thou shalt model, because no one will ever do a thou shalt. But once you get that built to a point and management takes a look at it, wow, this is valuable, then sometimes you may need professional help to hardwire it in. Like for example, connecting into HubSpot, because for me, I can do some API work, but I'm not good at it. That's going to be the piece where you end up bringing professional help and scale it. But that would
Okay.
be kind of quick and easy.
Good advice. And I'll add to your list the Marketing AI Institute and Smarter X. Excellent training at all different levels. And they have an annual conference, MACON, which by the time this airs, you'll just have missed, but there's lots of webinars and other training opportunities there. Well, good. Well, Eric, I can't wait to hear what you end up presenting in Austin next March. And In the meantime, if someone would like to connect with you and learn more about MXD, how can they do that?
So first off, always go to our website, mxdprocess.com. You can see how to spell it right behind me. So that's one. We also have a e-commerce site, mixerdirect.com. So we actually do industrial sales and an e-commerce engine, which has been pretty cool. Excuse me. Also, don't hesitate to contact me on LinkedIn. So it's just Eric Seiberling. I'm one of the few that are out there. If you find Eric Seiberling in MXD Process, you know I'm the right one. And don't hesitate to reach out. And what I'd encourage everyone listening to this is you may have questions about AI. And so what I'd ask for you to do is go ahead, DM me your questions. And I want to feed that into my presentation just to make sure that we're relevant to the audience that's coming.
Cool. Great. Well, thanks, Eric. And we'll include all of those links in the show notes in case you don't know how to spell his name. Seiberling. It's actually kind of how it sounds, but just in case, we'll throw that link in there. And Eric, this was so fun. Thank you very much for coming on to the show today.
Thanks, Wendy. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining me today on Content Marketing Engineered. For show notes, including links to resources, visit truemarketing.com/podcast. While there, you can subscribe to our blog and our newsletter and order a copy of my book, Content Marketing Engineered. Also, I would love your reviews on this podcast. So please, when you get a chance, subscribe and leave me your review on your favorite podcast subscription platform. Thanks and have a great day.